So, keep you in on all aspects of the operation. Do you please let me know if there's any kind of audio issue or anything like that? The stream dropped out earlier, and I'm sorry about that. All right, before I get into, well, let's just boot this up. Got a little treat for you. Well, I don't know whether it's a treat or not. Okay. Going to give you a sneaky preview of something I've been up to. This is called Silverburst Soothe, for obvious reasons. I'll just let it go, and I might probably waffle in between, but... Now, I'm going to chill while you're listening to this, and I'm going to hope that it's going out live in a nice way. Oh. Bloody silly boy! He's just totally ridiculous. Let's try that again, shall we? Right, help if I plugged it in, right? Monitor speakers. Monitor speakers. Monitor speakers. Right, here we go. Try again. You might even get it in stereo. I've tried very hard. I hope you're hearing that all right. There's no acoustic in this, by the way. And this isn't a finished product. This is like, I've done 3 versions of this. This was the first one. But I'm going to play the other 2. This is essentially, it's a vehicle for a massive solo with the Les Paul. Does that sound like a Les Paul to you? If it doesn't, say so. I don't mind. Bloody King Cobra is. Tone bender. What do you think of that? That's an acoustic simulator. What do you think of that? It's amazing, isn't it? Also, it's not mixed. I've just left everything up, like everything's up. Wow, that's a big old reverb. I don't remember doing that. That's how it was made. So the drums are the keyboard, yeah, the Yamaha DX. Now added splashes and fills manually with the keys. Alright. Now the clean track, the acoustic sound, is the Paisley Burst Telecaster bridge pickup into the Vox Stomp Lab, clean with speedy chorus, clean ACX simulator with chorus on the expression pedal, new plectrums. Right, now the next one, Silver Burst Les Paul into the Vox Stomp Lab again, into the Texas Blues, so Stevie Ray Vaughan sort of sound, with a delay, old analog delay on the expression pedal, so I can inject the sound. It's the first take, it's a stereo recording on the guitar sound, and yeah, just a solo. And the other one, that sound, the fuzz sound, is the Paisley Burst Telly with a tone bender with a brown acid octave on the expression pedal. Mick Ronson Marshall Major model on that. Doesn't really sound like it, I'll be honest. Doesn't sound like a Marshall Major, but that's what I went for. Whereas my little Vox AC30 model sounds like an off-the-shelf AC30. Anyway, so that's version 1, and there are other versions. So the Silver Burst number 2, where I only did the 3 tracks, and then Silver Burst Soothe number 3 says it's only 1 track, but there's actually 2. I just haven't written it down. Might even be 3 tracks. I haven't written it down. We'll get to that one. Now, like I say, everything's just left in and up, so there will be mistakes. But yeah. Right, these are the patches in my Cosm and Vox Stomp Lab that I've written. And on modelling amps, so like the Fender. That's the Stomp Lab. So like I write down my patches in case there's ever some catastrophic memory meltdown or I have to replace a bit of kit. So not the exact settings are there, but what it is. Say if I'm using like a Marshall Plexi model into compressor into 2x12 with a close mic and a DI, or like in a splash of slow rate chorus, which chorus it is. I'll write all of that down. And as for the patches, that's my signature tones, like in the Stomp Lab. Like those patches are written down quite extensively because like you can only save 20, so some of them are written down and they're actually recorded on paper rather than on the fucking chip. Back to the old medieval way of recording music. But it works. I'm not wasting my time here. I'm trying to work, I'm trying to focus, and I'm getting it done. And like, this is the most focused I've ever been. It's the most creatively looked after I've ever been, as in looking after myself. and like, you know, living in a house full of people that, you know, are decent people, and they don't get in my way creatively, and they support me creatively. So what can I say? It's the best. If I can't do it now, I'm never going to do it. But this is overindulgent, by the way. Now, where are we at? Coming to the end now. It's not an acoustic, man. What do you think of that sim? So there it is. That is Silverburst Soothe. That is the first version. That's version 1. And that isn't finished. That isn't finished. That's very rough. It's not mixed. It's roughly mixed. A stereo window. That's about it. There's no bass on it yet, and there's a couple more. You know, I'm just gonna blitz it with guitar solos, and then just sort of pick and mix and match. So there's only ever one going on at once. Yeah, there's 2 other versions, and I'm gonna record it again. But like, I think the first version, although it's the scruffiest and it's too long and it's overindulgent, has got like the best bits. So like, there's a sneaky preview now. I'm in the process of recording my album. It's going to be called Debut of the Jackal, Blacktooth Fox, Debut of the Jackal, and it's going to be a 2-disc affair. Now, it's actually a record. Like, I'm focused on writing a record. You can print vinyl records, white labels and that. It's not crazy. Like, it's doable. It's not unachievable. So this is the plan. I'm going to do my double album. Woo! Now, one disc, let's picture it. It's a gatefold record, okay? It's a classic gatefold record, double album. One record is rock and roll, like what you just heard, but a lot of heavier stuff as well. That was quite mild. There's going to be all sorts, but it's full band music, and it's me doing it all. I write it, I perform it, sing it, play it, blow it, whatever. A big ego trip, a big old ego trip. Hey, Gary, thank you, mate. I don't think so, but I feel good. It's good to be busy. Have you just got here? Did you hear any of the music? Sneaky preview? I don't know what it sounds like either. Is anyway, you know, so it's going to be like a 2-disc affair, 2 records. One record, full rock and roll band, okay. The other record, my acoustic stuff. So like disc 1, my acoustic stuff, which some of you have been listening to it for over 20 years. Some of those songs are over 20 years old. And I'm still here floating around, and I haven't done my debut album yet. What a loser. So disc 1 is my acoustic set. I haven't recorded one track yet of the acoustic stuff. I have mixed feelings on how to approach it. The rock and roll stuff, I know what I'm doing. Well, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm going to go for. You know, there's not much choice really, in fact, on that one. It's like I'm in this room and I've got my equipment and I'm recording my full band stuff. I'll never mind, Gary. You can have a listen later on, and there'll be more stuff in a minute anyway. I did a preview of what I've been recording. With the monitor speakers either side of the laptop, so the stereo mic should pick it up in stereo, but I don't know. I'll have to see when I play back. I've got no idea. Hey, Sandra. Oh, did it sound all right? I mean, what was the sound quality like? Was it terrible or was it okay? But yeah, like I don't know whether to do like a Michelle Shocked type of thing, like whereby I literally do like a gig to the mic. Like she did it round a campfire in Alaska. Oh, bless you, Sandra. Sounding like Pink Floyd. Bless you. Um, that's high praise indeed. Um, Yeah, Michelle Shock did it wonderfully. I think it was just outside of Anchorage in Alaska, and it was like up in the woods, fucking microphone. It's a Sony Pro Walkman. There was a Sony Pro Walkman. It was waterproof, battery powered, and it had a stereo mic on it. And she just threw it by the fire and fucking played to it. So that I have it in mind because this device, you can actually run it on Walkman batteries. You can run it on 6 Walkman batteries underneath it, and it's got the built-in stereo mic here, which if you ripped it out would be 150 quid microphone. It's pretty awesome. It sounds really good actually. So there is the potential there to say, oh, I'll do a vocal track, go to a cathedral, and actually pick up the real cavernous reverb of a building designed to resonate in an interesting way. Or do I record it here exactly the same as I'm doing the full band stuff? I don't know. But what I'm going to do is a few test tracks where I try both methods and see what we get. Because, I mean, and there's nothing stopping me from doing both. I mean, I could literally set it up, sound good, and do a gig to the microphone in Kingley Vale, in Kingley Vale. I mean, I wouldn't be causing any harm. And I could be in and out in an hour because it'd be half live. And then I could come back to the studio and then put overdubs in just to, not to cheat. But now this is something I try and think about. Recorded music is kind of an alien concept, really. It's almost insane to listen to exactly the same piece of music over and over and over and again. So like buying a CD, it's almost antithetical to me to buy a CD and listen to that same performance over and over and again. What we're more genetically sort of ready for is having songs played live again and again and again. A little bit different every time, that nuance. Now, when you play live again and again and again, because there is that live energy, the material, okay, is being buffered. It's being reinforced by that live energy. Recorded music hasn't got that, so it tends to fall into more sterile territory. And it's the great battle that people have when they first record, is it sounds very sterile because they're trying to get a tight take and blah blah blah. The answer to that is not to do anything. So keep it so that it can sound exactly the same live, but actually it's got more. So you overdub, you put loads of texture into the guitar. So it's the same guitar lines and you could repeat it live, but actually if you looked at it, there's like 15 guitar layers. And you know, maybe there's one note and you double over that one note, and nothing else has got any echo on it, but just that one note's got a bit. Wow, sounds amazing. Now, that isn't something you could do exactly live, but you're still playing the tune. It's still the same notes, the same chords, so it isn't cheating. But what you are doing is just helping your recorded music, which you're listening to again and again and again and again and again, exactly the same. You're adding loads of like interesting stuff for the ear, interesting textures for the ear, stuff that you won't. Pink Floyd, Sandra, as you say, Pink Floyd. Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here are two bloody good examples of that, where even now, almost 40 years of listening to that album, and I still hear things in it that I've never noticed before. That is, and yet they can play it live, but actually there's a lot going on the recorded one that isn't there in the live, but they're not cheating. I think I might have got my point across. I hope I haven't confused you too much. You'd like to hear both. Yeah. Okay. All right. And I think most people are. I mean, it's like I'm gonna do a tester, do a studio one, do a just one track, do a studio and do it like piece to microphone, and see how it goes. Fact is, Gary, probably the smart move would to be do a studio one and do a live one, and then I'll have a live CD to sell as well. Now this cut circles back, so yeah, going back to so it's a gatefold. There's 2 records. Artwork, I'm going to make a tremendous effort, as you know that like I actually do artwork. You know, if you've seen any in the studio, this wall, the acoustic wall, has got the art. Some of it anyway. She's a cutie. But I tell you what, she didn't sound and act as lovely as she looks. She was a model for a day, and she was a burping, farting nightmare that insisted on gallons of that bloody scrumpy jack. Anyway, fucking. Oh, brother. Um. I'm going to make a tremendous effort with the art on the record, and yeah, I think you're right, Sandra. Do both and choose. That's right. And so tremendous effort with the art, like lyric sheets, a real product, like a piece. You know, like some records were like a piece of you. Like when you buy Hawkwind in Search of Space, it was like you were buying a piece of the band. Okay, so when you buy my double album, I want you to be buying a piece of me, like a piece of me. I want to pour my heart and soul into this and get it right. Now, the album is, if you're a mega fan and it's like you want to support me as an artist, buy the record because I'm going to charge the earth for it. You know, it's not going to be cheap to produce, but I'm going to be charging. It's going to be a premium item, like a prestige item. If it's 100 quid, it's 100 quid. Probably like more like 50 quid. It's going to be expensive though. It's going to be like 50 quid, 40, 50 quid. And, you know, and that's that. But now this is the interesting bit. CDs, I'm going to do exactly the same thing as what I've been doing with my Angela, if you're watching, I will buy stamps. I am so sorry. I forgot to send one of these. I've been doing these and giving them away. About 300 I've given away. And it's just a 3-track EP. This was done in a proper studio, financed by the Prince of Wales. Like, you know, long story. John Vallance or Keith Sutton will tell you. And it's 3 of my songs, 3 very different songs. And I've used this to get gigs for years, and I give it away. I give them away at gigs. People sort of try to give me a $5 and a $10, and I won't have it. It's like, no, it's to give away. I will be giving away the CDs. They will be being given away. You don't have to buy a record. If you want my music, you can buy the CD. You can have the CD. I mean, even if I do sell it, it's going to be next to nothing. It's going to be like nothing. I don't expect to make any money out of this because of the world we live in now is so different. It's a digital world. It's completely different. I'm fully aware that people are just going to, if they want to hear music, they will just find it for nothing. That's what I do, for God's sake. It's only if I adore a band and I go out to a record shop and buy the goddamn CD. Now that's what I'm going to do. I don't give a shit. Fucking CDs, I'm going to just flum. And on the internet, flum. Fuck money, forget it. There's no point in trying, okay? But the record might be 100 quid. It's going to be like 40, 50 quid, I'll be honest. It's going to be at least 40, 50 quid. It's going to be a premium item. But that'll be a chunk of me, and that's that. Now, then, as you say, Sandra and Gary, very wisely do both. You're right. And I think what I'll do is, if the studio one is just too sterile and I can't make it work, then I'll put the live one on the debut. If I can get away with it, I'll do that as a separate thing, and it'll be like the live album, and that'll be another one. And this is the thing, because I'm at a huge advantage. Okay, I've had 20 years to write this fucking record. I've got like a lot of material, and it's not that it's just the dregs. It's not the bottom of the barrel, but I've got one up my sleeve. So I've got the debut, and I've got one up my sleeve. So this is the important thing. Now, if I go out and I'm going to just push this fucking debut, I'm going to push it for maybe a couple of years, just push it to as many gigs as I can get hold of. I'm going to be out there and I'm going to push it for a couple of years. And then I'll do the second one. And the second one is already written up here, and the songs are out there being played anyway. I'm doing them at gigs already. They just don't fit on debut of the Jackal. So the second album is already pretty much it is pretty much written. And so I don't have to worry about being burnt out and not being able to create, because a lot of people's second album, the reason it's so weak is they had like 5-10 years to accumulate material to release their debut, and then they push that debut album like a motherfucker, and they're touring, doing everything they can to exposure and push this record. Then they go in the studio to make number 2, and they've done fuck all except push the other record. So what are they going to do? Sing about pushing a debut record? Because that's all they've got to say. They're out of touch. And that's where they stumble, and that's why the second album's often weak. So I can see that, and I'm going to head that off at the pass by. I've got it already written. So basically, the foreseeable future of my... I'm not going to fucking say the word career, am I? Music career. I can relax. When it comes to material, I've got it just pouring out of my butthole. I've got plenty. I'm not worried. So I'm not going to fall into some of the traps that people fall into. As far as being a folk musician, on the folk scene, I'm still a kind of young guy, old crab that I am. In the folk scene, I'm still a fairly young-looking guy. So I don't have to worry. I just need to push, because as much as I love doing the full band stuff, it's the acoustic stuff that people are into. It's that strikes a chord with people. It's that gets the response. I think the full electric stuff, I love it, but I think it's for me. I don't know if it's for anyone else. It's too indulgent. It's like there's stuff out there that's so much better. It's really just me indulging myself because I love rock and roll so much. The full band thing is where it's at for me. You know, I'll never forget looking at a band, and it was like the second or the third night I was working for them, and I was watching them all, and I was like, I want to know everybody's job. I want to be able to do every job. And some of it was a real mystery to me, like the sound engineering and the lighting engineering was a complete and utter fucking mystery to me. The mixing desk was just a baffling, you might as well have been a fucking 747 cockpit. Made no sense. So, you know, like I was determined to learn everything. And I did. It took a long time. And the same with instruments. It was like, I was determined, like, I'm going to play bass like a bass player, not like a guitar player that can play a bit of bass, but like I want to be a bass player and a guitar player. And I want to be a drummer, not just a guitar player that plays drums. I want to be a drummer in my own right. And I'm very, very proud. This is one of my one of my greatest achievements is that I've played every rock and roll instrument in a band. Okay. You know, obviously like Warm Dirt, Blacktooth Fox, you know, my own shit for years. Oh God, you know, loads of bands playing guitar, Sunshine and Bad Sex, fucking Urban Myth, The Join, you know, you name it. Loads of fucking stuff. Bass, I played in Stone Cold, and a few other things, a few other projects. A very interesting project with Ollie. Bless Ollie, I miss him terribly. A very interesting project with Ollie and Nigel Rippon on drums, and I played bass. And drums with Keith's band. I don't know whether wasn't Space Baby. I think it was maybe Subversive Undersound, which is the name of me as a producer of my production company, which is just, this is all hot air bullshit. And we did some wonderful gigs, and I've really lost my skills. I can still play drums, but for about a minute, and then that's it. It's embarrassing when I sit behind Richard's kit when I was down in Chai, and it's just embarrassing. But I am really proud of that. I'm really proud of that I've done gigs, legitimate gigs, doing everything and singing, just singing without any. That was my first thing I did before I could even play guitar. I was a choir boy and that, and keep all that choir. Anyway, I'm working on a new sort of flamenco-ish bit. That's the keyboard. Tell you what, the keyboard, guitar sounds, if you play the notes that you would play on guitar, sounds kind of convincing. That's the key, but if you're ever doing that, by the way, is to play what you would play on the instrument, and it kind of sounds more convincing. Even at saxophone, whatever, play the notes you would play on the instrument on the keyboard. So here we go. It's just a couple of chords, so it's nothing spectacular, but I'll show you. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Fucking this right up, I'm sorry. I love this thing. I'm not playing it well at the moment. So that's my thoughts as regards, this album. I can't not call it an album or an LP or whatever. And I fucking can't wait to share more. In fact, do you want to hear another bit? Do you want to hear another bit? Say something if you do. Now, the Guv'nor. This is a Mark I, and it's been modded. It's had some diodes clipped and a couple of other bits and bobs. It got cut off from the stream earlier, but this, it's not me playing. It's me. Well, it's off recording. This Guv'nor is now. I do it all the opposite way that it should be done. Earlier on, I showed the metal zone and the metal core, which are the core of my sound. They're much hated pedals. Now, as you can see on both of them, the drive is set to minimum, absolute minimum. And they are quite different. The drive on the core is much higher. I mean, it's still a bit much. To get the sound of the metal core minimum, you stick it to about 9 o'clock. And they almost sound exactly the same. The metal core is slightly tweaked for drop tunings. And I could tell that before I found that out. I knew that. It's a great pedal. But it's so dynamic. And it's a Cosm engine, so it's a bloody digital pedal, believe it or not. And oh my God, I love it. Now this, as you can see, I put a lot of gain on it. This I use for the most gain sound, like the biggest sound, the biggest chugging. This is the most gain that I use of any pedal. Now it used to be that I used to wind it back to about here, and it was like my Bon Jovi sort of, my rock sound. My rock sound, not my thrash sound. Now it's fucking Slayer. It's not quite all the way, but it's when it starts to really grab and peak, But yeah, this came from my guitar sensei, John Stevens. He was literally my mentor when it come to some of the things I talked about earlier. When I was stood looking at that stage and decided that I wanted to know everything, it was John that put me through the ringer, started me off as a monitor engineer, and taught me everything about being a sound engineer, and a lot of other stuff as well. And I was very helpful to him because, I could play all the instruments already at that point. Not well, but I could play them all. But John was into every detail of my sound, and he died a couple of years ago, and I was a homeless bum. And it's a shame because he would have loved all of this. He would have loved all of this. He would have loved coming round my place, and he would have done. He lived in Chichester. He would have jumped in his car and driven up. He didn't give a fuck about that sort of thing, distances. He was more concerned about being bored. So John would have been probably like at least once a month. He would have come up and visited had he been alive. And he would have loved all this. He would have loved all of this. And he would have loved talking me to death about everything. And he would have loved hearing every bit of music that I'm working on. And he used to climb into the details and he'd say, play a bit slower, Tim, or, you should repeat that bit, or, you shouldn't repeat stuff so much. He was so valuable. And I miss him dreadfully. I always want his opinion about things, and it's not there, and it's sad. And there's a couple of things in here. There's a couple of things in my rig that John's presence, is there. Some of the leads that he made himself by hand, a microphone. Because I, believe it or not, I didn't play guitar for some years. I fell out of love with the guitar. I fell out of love with the guitar, and I barely picked it up for a number of years. And when it was emphysema and nearly dying back in 2012 that brought me onto the idea of life's too short, I've got to make music. And so I started collecting all the shit again. And John, helped me out. And one of the things, I was getting an SM58, I was buying a microphone. And he goes, I've got a microphone that you should try, which will suit your voice better. odd thing to say. And it's actually that microphone there. And I didn't know much about it. I was out of the game, but yeah, it's an AKG, so I know it's something all right. And yeah, it's a D330 BT, and it's got some high and low cut settings. This is great for open mic nights. Take your own mic if you can to open mic nights. Germs, like for a start. This is my microphone. But this is particularly useful because I've got panic buttons. If I'm getting such a terrible sound, I have got some recourse to do some cuts, some high and low cutting. So if there's a terrible feedback, I can do something about it. And it has been good because much as I love La Havana, Jez, bless him, love the guy who runs it. Really does leave you on your own out there. So, this microphone has been handy when things are going wrong. I roll off the bass like that. Anyway, John was right. This made me sound like it was like a large diaphragm. It picked up a lot of the nuance in my voice, whether that was psychological. And I was like, yeah, great, John. How much? And I do prefer it to an SM58. How much do you want for it? And he was like, oh, well, it's content. It's a contemporary of the SM58, about similar in value, but you can have it. And it's like, that's it. This is my sacred microphone. He was right, as ever, a suggestion that was helpful. And it's just, bless him. And it's like, and I do see these from time to time. Great kick the other day watching like Ozzy Osbourne and with back when Randy Rhoads was alive and Ozzy's chewing on one of these. The great gig, I love Heart Barracuda. I think that one of them's using one of these. Nancy may be using one. But it is a microphone you see, and it's a wonderful vocal microphone. This is my vocal microphone, and it will stay with me forever because of John. And the lead, I've got a big green lead hanging up. This is a proper stage lead, Nutric Jacks, and John made that lead by hand, and that's my stage lead. That's my stage mic lead, and this is my stage guitar lead. So they're green, so they're easily identifiable when you're dicking around, on other people's sound systems. I've also got a red set and a green set, but I'll need to kind of rebuild that a bit. So, there's a place very inveigled. Do you like my Dave Mustaine fucking plectrum holder, by the way? It's cool, eh? I'm so pleased to have like new plectrums as well. It's just great. So that and the Guv'nor, he's in my studio. There's other bits and bobs as well. But he would have loved things like the Silver Burst, the Paisley Telly. He would have loved that. So, right, if you look at the recorder here. So, go to Utility. This is what I have to do, you see. New song select, enter, list loading. So, Silver 1, that's the one we just heard. Silver 3, no. Alloy 666, no. Bon Jove, no. Epsilon, same song actually, no. Manifold 2, no. Silver Soothe 2, there's your one. So enter. So this is a different version of what you've already heard. There's only 3 tracks on this one that I've done. Let's get you back in position because you've got monitor speakers either side of you. Well, monitor speakers. You've got these either side, but they're giving, because you've got a stereo microphone on the laptop, they're giving a loose impression of a stereo window. That's been the plan anyway. I hope it sounds all right. So this is the second version. Give me a chance to mix on the fly and whatnot. And thanks so much for joining. Got compression on that. Hear that vibrato? that harmonic bleeding in. I'm so pleased with that. What do you think? Any thoughts? I love that sound. The way it transitions. Thanks, Gary. It's not crack rock or anything. Have you not got any, Gary? Have you not got any weed, man? Sorry, bro, because I wouldn't want to wind you up like that. I won't do that. So again, that was a full, everything just in the mix, just thrown in. But there's only 3 tracks. and it was all first take. I mean, this is all very rough stuff at this stage because that is something I've just written, and it's very simple. The chords at the beginning are actually, this is crazy. The story's a bit mad and a bit sad. I was getting married a few years ago, and I had a kiddie on the way, and I've two stepdaughters, and one of them was a guitar player, and she was only like 8. And we were writing, we were going to work on a piece of music to play at the wedding, and and those chords are from it, and they're so sad and so tragic. They're not wedding music. Music always knows what's up ahead. That was a sad. That derailed me completely. I was doing good, and that derailed me. But yeah, I'm back on my feet now. I am feeling better. I'm having the odd funny turn, but I'm being strict on the diet, and I am feeling much better. Um, I'm able to do this. That's important. If I can't make music and I want to, it's just I'm miserable. I have to just hide in books and films. So so that was another version of the first one. Now I don't know whether you noticed in that. Again, there's no acoustic in that. That's an acoustic simulator. But I don't know if you noticed, but like I was playing like a chord. And then the whole thing had vibrato. In fact, hang on. I think I'm clever about it. Let's see. Check this out. This is how it's done. So it's on a foot pedal there, like a wah pedal or a volume pedal. You see? Now, so I've got it on an acoustic simulator clean sound, I think, because I haven't even done a practice strum. But here we go. So you can see that, like, you can be quite subtle with that, and it can be surprisingly effective, because it's like, the instruction, like more feeling. It's like more feeling. But that, obviously you can do that with single notes, but to do a whole chord, you have to use either a whammy bar and knock your guitar out of tune, possibly. No, not all the time. Doing gentle stuff like that's all right. Or what I've got there. I have always dreamed, this is no word of a lie, of having all my effects parameters on foot controls. Keith Sutton, if you're watching, do you remember, like, I had that fucking distortion pedal with the parametric sweeper on it? And what I would do is I had the whammy bar, like zip tied to the knobs, so I could like kick the fucking knobs like while we're playing live. I've never seen anyone else do that, by the way, and it's a fucking good solution. But now I have the Stomp Lab, and it's just an amazing machine. I mean, for like 70 quid. Well, they go up and down. They go between 70 and 90, right? They literally do. They swift between like 69.95 and 89.95. They move around, like even at the same, on Amazon. But the best, the fucking quality. Now, as a practice device, again, see, right, this is like how bloody good I've got it. Like, even totally mobile facilities on Walkman batteries. I've got the fucking digital 8-track, and that's got the Cosm engine. Okay, so that's got like, a whole library of like, the Roland modeling engine, like the Roland, which is called Cosm. So that, I've got great simulators on that. I've got all the guitar effects, all the guitar fucking models that you could ever want. And the fucking Stomp Lab is also, you can run it on 4 Walkman batteries. I think it's 4 on this one. It's 6 or 8 on that one and 4 on this one. 4 or 6, I can't remember. But it runs on bloody Walkman batteries, so you can have that in your gig bag. It's tiny for what it is. It's tiny, okay? It's a fucking expression pedal, and all those features. It's one downfall is you have to learn it, and you do have to learn it. You have to do your homework, because the more you can climb in and adjust the details, the better job you're going to get out of this box. I'm going to do a full episode on that. There's a chap from, I think he's from Indonesia, but he's a lovely chap. And he bought one. It was somebody else doing a review, and it was a comment on the thread, and it was like, I tipped him over the edge on buying one, and now he can't get a good sound out of it, so he keeps asking me questions about it. So I'm going to do a video on how I have got good sounds on it, because I believe I have. I mean, the fucking sounds on that thing. You've been hearing some of them, right? You've been hearing some of them. And it's like there's different types of delay on there. Like there's the old like Pink Floyd The Wall sort of delay where it goes boxy and modulated as it decays. And you've got the really clean, almost Strymon sort of like delay, which is just an absolute perfect reproduction, and a really beautiful linear flow. Like as you tune in the decay, like how many repeats there are before the sound disappears altogether. That's so like beautifully fine tuned. I did not expect, like, at the price that it is, for it to be like high def, but it's got like a stereo switching jack, so you can have just like go straight to your amp. And this is fundamental because every time you plug it in, you should go straight to the global settings and make sure that your volumes and your output lines up. So if you're going straight into the desk, it's line, or it sounds like shit. And if you're going into an amp, then you go to the one of the 3 amp choices, and it literally says this one if you've got like a closed back amp. Okay, this one if it's open back. And it's like very specific, and it actually works. So like, going into the Fender, it's open. I'm on A2, okay, which is open back, I think. And on the Hohner, like that setting, which works really well for the Fender, just sounds so muddy. So you have to go into A1, and it sounds great, and it actually sounds exactly like the Fender. So it is imperative to do that. Little bit of hassle every time you plug it in. So you don't just plug it in and play. You plug it in and you go to the global settings, and you make sure that your outputs are lined up to where you want them to be. And that is fundamental to getting good results out of that machine. So it has got its like little hassles, but if you follow the rules, my goodness, for the money. And it is so characterful. Now, I could very much easily argue that the Cosm engine on the BR600 there, the digital multi-tracker, is a much more sophisticated, much higher definition, much higher quality bunch of sounds. I could definitely make that case. But there's a character to the sounds on the Vox Stomp Lab which put it ahead for me. Like, it's very characterful. Even when it does things, even its flaws are kind of nice and colourful. Like the way certain things break up a bit prematurely, but in a nice way. It's surprisingly interesting. I've gone so far as to say every guitarist should have one. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I think every guitarist would use one if they had one, because at that price, fucking who gives a shit if your gig bag gets nicked? I mean, it's not the end of the world. And you've got 2 switches. You've got 2 switches, 2 stomp switches, an expression pedal, 3 duck chicken heads, and like 1, 2, 3, 4 stabbies. 4 stabbies. That's it. For all of those features. So you know that it's going to be an arse-8 because it's only a fucking dual display. Like it's a numerical display. It's like digital watch. It's not like a liquid crystal display. Well, it is, but it's like numbers and letters. That's it. So you know it's going to be a headache. Same exact thing with the BR600. I don't care if that's where they save the money by not having like a nice screen. I mean, really, what you want is a touch screen. Oh man, like the Vox amp that I'm getting, the VT20X. One thing I love about it is mostly on these amps and they have a USB output and it's kind of useless. And you have to have like proprietary software and it comes on a disc and you have to download all this shit and everything. And some of them you have to like have a subscription, which you have to pay for. Yeah. This Vox one, it's fucking amazing. The amp, okay, you can use it in manual mode, which means that all the lights switch off and it operates exactly like as it shows you. Like, okay, got a rotary switch, different amp models, rotary switch, different effects, and there's your mid treble, blah blah blah, and it runs like a normal amp, but with like fucking modeling and shit. But no like fucking lights, no display, very simple. You've got it in standalone mode, which is where like now you've got banks of sounds, all the lights are on, blah blah blah, and you've got like a tiny little postage stamp size digital display, and you can really get into the guts. And then you got the third mode, which is called the tone room, and it's so cool. Like you plug the USB into anything, like anything, phone, tablet, PC, anything, and it comes up with a guitar rig on a virtual floor, and it is touchscreen. You can mess with all the settings. You don't touch the amp again, and you do it all on the machine. So like, fuck me, do I want to get like a device and like have it always attached on like a dedicated device that's never like online or whatever. I don't think you need to be online for that. I think it's like just all on the actual device. It's incredible. Like the Fender one, it was a crock of shit. There was nothing there that was useful to me at all. You could do some like tone swaps, which are hassle. And it's like, well, why didn't you just put that in the amp? How come? I mean, why is it such a fucking ordeal that I have to lose a piece to gain a piece? And it's like, I don't want to like give any of the bits away that are on my amp, that my fucking wonderful amp. I don't want to give any of the bits away. So that I hated that. I never use it. That is a standalone to me. It's a standalone. I originally bought it just for the clean channel, but the modeling is what I ended up using. So yeah, this little Vox, I can't wait to get it. And I did say on an earlier live stream that perhaps the only way to get the sounds that I'm after on the budget that I've got is to go the modeling route and rely on the fact that, when it's Fender doing the modeling, they model Fender amps really well. And when it's like Marshall, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm going to cut it off there. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you all. I need to have a little lie down, I'm afraid. My heart rate's a bit quick. I'm all right, but I do need to look after myself, and this is one of those things. I'm sorry to cut it short. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you to bits. It's been a pleasure to have you have a sneaky peek at what I'm recording, and I really am going to go all right, so I can lie down. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you again soon.